Thank you for all for being here. My name is Nathan Barcelona. I am a first-year undergraduate in the studio of David Higgs at the Eastman School of Music, and I hope I bring in a program for you guys. Hopefully you guys will enjoy. What you just heard was a piece by Louis Vierne, a French composer in the 20th century. He had somewhat of a sad life. He was addicted to opioids, and he was half blind most of his life, and his wife left him for his best friend, and just everything that could have happened badly to him did. And I think you could probably hear that in that first piece. It did not stop him, however, from writing some of the most beautiful music, liturgical and secular music in the 20th century. So I hope you enjoy. My program today will feature plenty of very meditational Lenten pieces, whether in their text or not, whether they're just my own artsy-fartsy musician interpretation of it. But the next piece I have is a chorale prelude by Bach's son, C.P.E. Bach, and this was a sort of a remix of his father's original chorale prelude. A chorale prelude is something you play before a hymn to sort of introduce the congregation to the hymn tune. I've heard a few of my colleagues refer to some of Bach's chorale preludes and compare them to some of Frank Sinatra's tracks, where the melody is somewhat loosely on top of the accompaniment, and it fits, but it's also free to a certain degree. So while the accompaniment is fairly metronomic, the accompaniment, or the melody, is flowing. This text is the Reformation chorale text, Ich ruf zu dir, Herr Jesu Christ, which translates to, I call to you, Lord Jesus Christ, which is a Lenten hymn. I think it's actually in the Episcopalian hymnal that is in the pews somewhere. I believe it's number 634. So if you would like to look at the text while I'm here, that would be very nice. All right, hope you enjoy Ich ruf zu dir, Herr Jesu Christ by C.P.E. Bach. we're going to stay in Germany for the next piece. This next composer is Max Reger. He was one of really, really just loved Bach, really a Bach expert. Now, this next piece has some religious and political aspects to it. Max Reger was a German in the 19th century and early 20th century. And so as a German in the 19th century and early 20th century, he was in the middle of a great turmoil between the Protestant Reformation Lutherans and the Catholics. And Germany was very much split down the middle. And so Reger was himself born a Catholic. However, he also was an organist, and a lot of what Bach did as a Lutheran was write a lot of chorale preludes to these reformist hymns and things like that were quite offensive to the Catholics at the time, being a sort of an act of rebellion they saw. So Reger wrote plenty of reformist Lutheran chorale preludes, but he also wrote plenty of not Lutheran reformist chorale preludes. So he wrote plenty of secular pieces for the sole purpose of playing in Catholic churches. He knew that if he went to a Catholic church in Germany at that time, the Catholics were at that time being socially and politically persecuted. They would be very offended if he played something that was overtly German. So he wrote a collection of very secular seeming pieces, one of which I will be playing today. It's called Pastoral. Now, a pastoral is originally was a song that a shepherd would play when he was watching his flock. The implication of this pastoral is a trio, meaning each part I'm playing one melody with the pedal, one melody with my right hand, and one melody with my left hand. So and everything comes together to create a beautiful harmony. So again, maybe I'm just a artsy-fartsy musician, but if I listen carefully, I can almost hear and see and sort of smell the air of a clear afternoon in northern Germany watching my sheep. So I hope you enjoy Max Reger's Pastoral. This next piece, I think, I have somewhat of a theory on. It's Organ Sonata Number 2 by Felix Mendelssohn, and I think it has. Hear me out. As I was relearning this piece at school to play for you all, I also sang in a cantata written by Felix Mendelssohn's sister, Fanny Mendelssohn. This cantata is under the name Hiob, which I believe is the German for Job. That'd be the book of Job. And in the cantata, she takes text from the book of Job. And the text, I think, really just matches incredibly with the first 3 movements of this sonata. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read a little bit of the text. This is Job chapter 7, verse 17. What are human beings that you make so much of them, that you set your mind on them? Visit them every morning, test them every moment. Will you not look away from me for a while? Let me alone until I swallow my spittle. If I sin, what do I do to you, you watcher of humanity? Why have you made me your target? Why have I become a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For now I shall lie on the earth. You will seek me, but I shall not be. And I think this is a prayer Job prays to God in desperation. Why is this happening? And I think the first movement of this sonata is so aggressive and mournful at the same time. And I think it perfectly encapsulates the prayer that Job is praying. And then this transitions immediately into the second movement, which has a much more calm but still sorrowful prayer to it. And it ends, it's almost a communication between Job and his friends. God isn't answering Job yet, or maybe even Job and himself. And this real question, why? Why me? Why is this happening? But then finally, the third movement, we realize that this was God's intention all along. And God makes good out of all evil. And it's by the grace of God that we can become joyful. And the last movement is really a really happy, joyful movement. But please enjoy the Book of Job or Mendelssohn's Second Organ Sonata. Thank you. This next piece is written by American composer Florence Price. It is this is the most buttery piece you'll hear in this program. It's originally published under the title Evening, but her publisher decided that unfortunately the name Evening would sort of restrict it only to evensong, and that's basically it. So to sort of widen and have more versatile usage, at least in theory, she renamed it In Quiet Mood. And there's not really much to say about this piece. It kind of exists to be heard and to be enjoyed. So please enjoy In Quiet Mood by Florence Price. This next piece is literally a joke. I'll explain. This is the scherzo movement from Vierne Symphony 1. It's titled Allegro vivace, but that's because it's an allegro that goes really fast. But it plays the part of the scherzo movement in Vierne Symphony 1. If you know any Italian, you'll know scherzo means jest or joke. I think this piece is the greatest candidate to be a scherzo that isn't named scherzo out of all of them. It literally laughs at you. In the entire piece, it ha ha. Even the very last thing you hear is 2 laughs. Now, in the key of A minor, with plenty of very chromatic stuff, it's a very dark joke. Now again, we revisit Louis Vierne had a very dark life. And he, I think, there's gotta be a sort of sense of humor. He had to have a sense of humor to write a piece like this. Like any good joke, someone gets upset, so you have to apologize in the middle, and there's somewhat of a really nice honey, I'm sorry moment. But again, like any good apology, you always go back to do the same thing again. So at the very end, we go back to the original theme, and with a little dark twist at the very end. And just one thing before that, I will let you know that Louis Vierne did die at the organ, which I think is the darkest joke yet. this next one is the last piece in the program, and I think arguably it's the most epic. But before I go and introduce it, I would like to make a number of thank yous. First, I'd like to thank Bishop Gadsden for hosting me here. It's been a wonderful performance opportunity, and as a first year, this is really exciting. I'd like to thank Clara Godshaw and everything. She's been a wonderful host. I'd like to thank Pastor Charles Jenkins for his being a wonderful host as well. And last and not least, I'd like to thank my family, my mom, who's here. Obviously my family too, but my mom is here. And I would like to thank Mr. Berkemeyer and Allison Berkemeyer, who came all the way from Clemson, South Carolina to hear their family friend play the organ. So I truly, please give a round of applause to both of them. He's hiding away in shame. I appreciate both of you. This last piece is, I believe, a spiritual battle. This is César Franck's pièce héroïque. César Franck was one of the big figures to bring the organ back to France. So after the French Revolution, church became really not a thing in France, and therefore the organ went away with it too. You don't hear of many French classical great works. However, César Franck, as a French romantic composer, one of the earlier ones, really brought back the organ and was really one of the most famous organists of his time. And he wrote this piece. There's speculation about what it is exactly, but I have a theory. I believe it is the battle that St. Joan of Arc embarked upon. That's a physical battle with swords and shields, and a spiritual battle with wills and spirits and angels and demons. So throughout the piece, you can hear spiritual turmoil, and there's a little moment of peace and tranquility in the middle with a few war drums going on in the pedal, bum, 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 very carefully. And then we ramp back up, and then at the very end, there's this great clashing between good and evil, and we can hear two things that I think are very interesting. We hear, the technical term is the umpa. You learn very technical things in school. And it sort of is the bass hits and the hands hit again, so it sort of gives a umpa. And it's to imitate the carousel ride, which is a very childlike, fun, friendly thing. But this is not a fun carousel ride at the very end. We're in a deep, dark, twisted, emotional, spiritual battle. So through this motif, we're sort of communicated that there's something really dark and sinister going on. And whether or not we win in the end, I guess we'll see. All right, please enjoy César Franck's pièce héroïque.